Good evening. Good evening to you. It is Valerie Ling here, coming live. Hello there. So glad if you are listening in, tuning in on the podcast, or watching here as a replay. Really, really great to be here. Got a little bit of time this evening because I did a check around the home. The husband has a meeting this evening. The children indicated that nobody needed me, wanted to play a game with me, go for a walk with me. They could not be enticed, so I've come up here to share something with you. It was International Women's Day a couple of days ago, and days like that, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, and I understand that International Women's Day represents something more than a hallmark event. It's a message of equality, a message of women having a voice. And I tend to shy away from these sorts of days, I suppose, because as a female, if you are a female, if you know a female, if you love a female, it is just one of those things that you live with. Sometimes you just don't want to have to remember that you are female, that it just doesn't matter for you as an individual, right? I'm not talking about as a society and as a group. And I shied away from it. However, I have to admit that the message does ring true for me, what it represents and how I live it. And a lot of times, as a female, I think, particularly the type of female that is vocal, decisive, uh, in leadership positions or leadership situations, you kind of filter what you say, what you do, how you come across in a socially accepted way. I am no stranger to that. Even if I wasn't consciously thinking or doing it, I would anyway. And it comes from essentially watching to see what the reaction that comes back. You're looking to see whether you're going to be misunderstood, whether you're going to be quietened down or set aside or put in your place or given the back of the room or, ushered to a space that is more manageable and more contained. And I guess for me, after a while, you just go, well, you know what? What if I just don't think about it? What if it just doesn't come into the equation? What if I just Teflon brain that meaning, that Teflon meaning that I just let it slide completely out of my brain? And I suppose days like International Women's Day makes me stick it back on to my Teflon, to my brain. And so don't want to really think about it. Here's the thing though, there is something about being female that tends to cause us biologically to want to connect. And there is something to be said about leaning into that space, whether you're a male or a female or, whatever that, there is something to be said about leaning into that space. So, Nimble in Our Minds and Agile with Our Hands is the title of today because one of the things that we struggle with is reaching out, connecting, helping others. Lately, I've been diving into a bunch of leadership resources that really, really, really talks about networking in a way that what is networking? Probably in the days of things like with salespeople, selling products, networking really came to be synonymous, I suppose, with pairing up with people or aligning with people and having connections with people so that you could exchange ideas, goods, services, essentially favors, right? So the larger your network is, the larger you can trade these favors that would be beneficial for you or even mutually beneficial. However, when you actually look at networking, networking, the idea of a net is actually a support, a catch, right, so that you don't fall on the ground. It's it's woven That's the reason why you don't fall on the ground. The holes are really big, you just go straight through. It ain't a net. The more tightly knit it is, the more it's interwoven, the more rope or string lines there are, the tighter it's going to be, so that if you do fall, it catches and you bounce back, right, for some nets. And working essentially, I suppose, just means that it's an active thing, right? And ain't a net ain't going. These days I have tend to just go the ain't thing. Anyways, a net isn't going to just appear out of nowhere. You've got to make it, you've got to get it, you've got to tie it, it's got to be taut enough so that it actually really works. So it's intentional. And networking essentially, from its helpful, effective, authentic view of networking, is that you build relationships out of curiosity, out of a mutual giving, out of generosity, that exchanges ideas, life, thoughts, journeys, etc. Nimble in our minds, agile with our hands is basically about coming to you with the story of how today was a day at the business are going Tuesday, Wednesday. It was just fires. You know what I mean by fires? It's all these well-laid plans just kind of having wrinkles and crinkles in them, right? And you just have to deal with them. Some of them you can sort of say, well, you're not really a fire. You're like a flickering battery lit candle. You know, one of those that just goes flicker, flicker, flicker. You're asking for attention, but you're really not going to burn anything. You are of no danger. Step aside, right? But then there are those fires that you know, if you don't deal with it today, if you don't actually work on it, it's going to spread. It's going to get out of control. And so we got to deal with it. And you've got to deal with it by being nimble in your minds. And what this meant is, as we were sitting down together today, you know, there are going to be days when you're just going to have to pedal really hard. That's just what it is. And we had, you know, a sliver of an opportunity to have lunch today. And I loved that we checked in, or well, not me, but one of our teammates actually checked in with the group and just said, listen, we could keep going, but I'm conscious that at, you know, whatever, 1:30, this is happening for you, and it's now 1 o'clock, you need food. And so, you know, a drawer was open. I was quite surprised. I did not know, well, maybe I did, but I forgot that this drawer was open. You know, one of these filing cabinet type drawers, like that you would think when it opens, there are official looking things in there. It was packed with snacks. It was amazing. Thoughtful snacks, you know, really great energy things. And we all had a bit of a snack. And as we were just reflecting, we were talking about how I was encouraging the team to not let discouragement set into their minds as we had all these fires. You can interpret them as being, you know, they can be I-specific statements, which is, I didn't do a good enough job. Why didn't I see this coming? I should have known this. I should have done this. They can be you-specific statements. You should have kept your eye on this. You didn't do this. They mucked it up. They weren't. And this will be our initial reactions, right? You can attribute it to the situation and catastrophize about being out of control. It's never going to work. Everything always goes bad. Whenever we have smooth sailings, it will get destroyed, right? So you can get into that space as well. And what I was encouraging us is to have nimble minds. Be light. Hold things lightly. Right. The reason why we have these fires is because we gathered wood, because we discovered how to breathe fire from pieces of disparate wood. The reason why we have these fires is because we're sitting around it. We built something that, you know, was warm, and there's little spitfires. The why of what we did that led to these little fires is immensely purposeful, is immensely meaningful. And rather than going, I stuffed up, you stuffed up, things will always stuff up, we can be nimble in our minds about that and remember that we are a small team of 12 dealing with multiple issues. And yes, we're doing the best that we can. More importantly, we're doing it together, right? And so if we are all nimble in our minds and having that perspective to say that making mistakes leads to growth, if you don't take risks, you will stay stationary. And if you don't link in with everybody and let people know, hey guys, we have something. So I started the day saying we have a situation. It's like I think maybe that like freaked out someone, but if you don't say it out loud and you hold it all in, then you're not going to get to do the second part, which is to be agile with our hands. Quick, 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 right? You might be reactive, put out the fires with your bare hands. That's not great. You might get frozen and just put your hands up like this and go, I don't know what to do. In situations where there are things that you couldn't predict and you couldn't control, being nimble in your mind, holding things lightly, being reflective, taking some space, taking a walk, going out for lunch, calling a friend, I don't know, do Sudoku if that's your thing, also means that you will be agile with your hands. You are able to see what you do have in front of you. So we had to figure out what our current resources are. That was one of the messages that we had to say to ourselves today. What is the current status of the resources that we have? What's the diary capacity? What's the, whatever, human resourcing? What's the picture at this point in time? How can we manage our expectations of what we can do? And we said, based on the picture, 1 month at a time. It's okay, 1 month at a time. And then being agile to say, for what it is, for what we've been able to come up with, that's good enough for now. And as we dealt with that together as a team, there were multiple things. It even included me having to have a Zoom meeting in the car because we ran out of space because of the fires that we were having. They weren't literal fires, by the way, they were situations. We finished it and I said, we've had a great day. We've had a really good day. We have worked hard. We have worked tough. We have been gritty as today. And yet, it has been a good day because we were nimble in our minds and gentle with one another. We did it together and we were incredibly agile with our hands. And we didn't finish, although initially, I must admit for myself, you get cranky and you go, you it. You eventually do ground yourself back to say, this is why we do what we do. Look at the incredible things that we are doing. Of course, there's going to be things that stuff up, don't go according to plan. That's just part and parcel of it. And yet, we've had a really great day. So it is now, as I am recording this, Sydney time, 8:16 p.m. I don't know what sort of day you have had, or what sort of month you have had, or what sort of week you've had. Maybe it's not in the workspace. Maybe it's in the personal space. I hope that you will find some shelter in this broadcast, whatever version that you eventually listen to this, to know that you don't have to hide what you're experiencing. You don't have to apologize for what you're experiencing. You might be able to find someone who can encourage you to be nimble in your mind and agile with your hands if needed. And sometimes the agility comes from just putting down our hands and saying, not today. It doesn't have to be fixed, like those candles that were flickering, that were battery operated. That's okay. Set them aside. But you don't have to do it by yourself. Reach out. And if you're kind of looking at evaluating the net that you have underneath yourself and it's a little bit sparse, well, you know what? That's where professionals step in. It's our honor and our joy and our privilege to step into that space, to be the net for a period of time while you build the net beneath you from your environments, in your connections, in your relationships that are there for you. All right, I shall leave you with those thoughts.